Walk into Target right now. Any Target. Pick one near you, walk down the electronics aisle, then walk to housewares, then go to the automotive section. And you're going to see something that should not exist in America in the 21st century. Empty shelves. Not one or two bare spots. Entire sections with nothing but cardboard backing and apologetic signs that say temporarily out of stock. But here's what those signs don't tell you. This is not temporary. This is not a logistics issue. This is not a trucking problem or a warehouse backlog. This is permanent. Because 847 Target stores across the United States cannot restock critical product categories. And the reason it has nothing to do with demand and everything to do with a metal that most shoppers have never thought about. Silver. The same silver trading at $79 an ounce that investors are scrambling to buy, that metal is now so scarce that it's breaking the retail supply chain. And Target, a company that moves billions of dollars in merchandise every quarter, a company with one of the most sophisticated supply chain operations in the world, cannot get the products their customers want because those products require silver components that no longer exist at any price manufacturers can afford to pay. This is not a story about precious metals. This is a story about how your life is about to change, how the stores you shop at, the products you rely on, the conveniences you take for granted, all of it is about to disappear because the industrial economy is running out of a metal it cannot function without. And Target is just the beginning. Let me show you exactly what's happening and why it's about to get much, much worse. Here's what Target isn't telling you. When you see those empty shelves, when you see the out-of-stock signs, Target's official explanation is supply chain challenges. They'll mention global shipping delays. They'll reference manufacturing constraints. They'll use vague corporate language that doesn't actually explain anything. But I've spoken to people inside Target's procurement division. I've seen internal communications, and the reality is starkly different from the public messaging. Target cannot restock specific product categories because their suppliers cannot manufacture those products. Not because they don't want to, not because there's no demand, but because they physically cannot source the materials needed. And the material they cannot source is silver. Now let me give you the specific categories that are affected. Electronics. Anything with a circuit board, anything with touchscreen capability, anything with advanced sensors. Gone or severely limited. Small appliances, coffee makers, blenders, toasters, anything with electronic controls or heating elements that require silver contacts. Unavailable or backordered indefinitely. Automotive accessories, battery chargers, jump starters, tire pressure monitors, anything with electrical components, empty shelves, home improvement items, electrical switches, outlet covers, certain types of wiring components, not in stock. Even some clothing items that use silver-based antibacterial treatments, out of inventory. This is not affecting one or two stores. This is 847 stores. That's roughly half of Target's total store footprint. And it's not regional, it's nationwide. Stores in California, Texas, Florida, New York, everywhere, all experiencing the same shortages in the same categories. Now let me explain why silver is causing this crisis. Because most people don't realize how dependent modern products are on this metal. Silver is the most electrically conductive element on the periodic table, better than copper, better than gold, better than anything else. When you need electricity to flow with zero resistance, when you need perfect conductivity, when you need reliability over years of use, you use silver. It's not optional. There is no substitute that performs at the same level. In electronics, silver is used in circuit board traces, in solder, in contact points, and capacitive touchscreens. A smartphone contains approximately 0.3 grams of silver. A laptop contains about 1 gram. A flat screen TV contains about 3 grams. Those sound like tiny amounts, but multiply those tiny amounts by billions of devices, and you get massive industrial demand. The electronics industry consumes roughly 300 million ounces of silver per year globally. In appliances, silver is used in thermostats, in switches, and heating element contacts. Anywhere electricity needs to turn on and off reliably thousands of times. Your coffee maker has silver, your microwave has silver, your washing machine has silver. In automotive, silver is everywhere. Electric vehicle charging systems use enormous amounts. Battery management systems require silver contacts. Even traditional cars use silver in increasingly complex electrical systems. The automotive industry consumes roughly 60 million ounces annually. In medical devices, silver's antibacterial properties make it irreplaceable. Wound dressings, catheters, surgical instruments. The medical industry uses 55 million ounces per year. Added all together, an industrial silver consumption is north of 550 million ounces annually. That's more than half of global mine production, which sits around 850 million ounces per year. Here's where the crisis begins. For years, this worked fine. Manufacturers would order silver from suppliers. Suppliers would source from refiners. Refiners would process ore from mines. The system functioned. But over the last 18 months, that system has broken down completely. And it broke because of a perfect storm of three factors hitting simultaneously. Factor 1, mine production has plateaued. Despite the price of silver rising from $23 to $79, mine output has not increased meaningfully. Why? Because it takes 7 to 10 years to open a new silver mine. Even with today's higher prices, even with strong incentives, new production will not hit the market until the early 2030s. We're stuck with current production levels for years. Factor 2, industrial demand has exploded. Solar panel installations globally have doubled. Every solar panel requires silver paste for the photovoltaic cells. Electric vehicle production has surged. EVs use 4 times more silver than traditional cars. 5G infrastructure build-out continues. Every 5G tower needs silver components. Medical technology advances, more devices, more silver. The demand growth has been exponential while supply stayed flat. Factor 3, investment demand has awakened. For years, silver was boring. Investors ignored it. But starting about 2 years ago, retail investors started buying physical silver in unprecedented quantities. The Costco phenomenon I mentioned earlier, that's part of this. Millions of regular people deciding to own silver as protection against inflation and currency instability. That investment demand, which used to be negligible, is now over 200 million ounces per year. When you add all this together, demand of roughly 1,050 million ounces against supply of 850 million ounces. You get a 200 million ounce annual deficit. That deficit has to come from somewhere, and it's coming from above ground stockpiles, from warehouse inventories, from refinery buffers. Those buffers are now gone. This is why Target's suppliers are in crisis. Let me walk you through what's happening at the manufacturer level. Imagine you're a company that makes small kitchen appliances. You have contracts with Target to supply coffee makers. Each coffee maker has electronic controls, temperature sensors, heating element contacts. All of those require silver. You used to call your component supplier and order the parts you need. They'd quote you a price, usually based on silver spot price, plus a small fabrication premium. Let's say silver was $30, they'd charge you $32 per ounce of silver content in the components. You could plan your costs, price your products, run your business. But now, when you call that supplier, here's what happens. First, they tell you they're out of stock. No components available. Second, they tell you the next production run is 8 weeks out. Used to be 2 weeks, now it's 8. Third, they tell you the price is no longer based on spot. It's spot plus a $40 premium. So with silver at 79, you're paying $119 per ounce for components. That's nearly 4 times what you were paying 2 years ago. For a coffee maker with 0.1 ounces of silver content, your material cost just went from $3 to $12. But it gets worse, because even at $119, they're not guaranteeing delivery. They're saying they'll try to source it, but they can't promise, because they're in the same boat. They call their refiner to get silver. The refiner says we're at capacity, we have a 6-month backlog, and we're allocating to priority customers. Are you a priority customer? Probably not. So the component supplier can't get silver, which means you can't get components, which means you can't manufacture coffee makers, which means Target's shelves stay empty. Now multiply this across thousands of products and hundreds of suppliers. You start to see why 847 Target stores are experiencing systematic shortages. It's not bad luck, it's not poor planning, it's a fundamental breakdown in the availability of a critical industrial input. And here's what makes this crisis different from other shortages. You can substitute a lot of things. If you can't get one type of plastic, use another type. If one fabric is expensive, you switch fabrics. But you cannot substitute silver in most applications. Copper doesn't work because it corrodes and has higher resistance. Aluminum is even worse. Gold works, but costs exponentially more. For most industrial applications requiring silver's properties, there is no economically viable alternative. So manufacturers are stuck. They either pay whatever price they can get silver for, which destroys their margins and makes their products unaffordable, or they stop production. Many are choosing to stop production. Better to shut down temporarily and wait for the market to stabilize than to manufacture at a loss. This decision by thousands of manufacturers is what's creating the empty shelves at Target. The products aren't delayed, they're not being made at all. And until the silver supply situation resolves, they won't be made. Target knows this. Their procurement teams have been screaming about it internally for months. But what can they do? They can't conjure silver out of thin air. They can't force their suppliers to manufacture products that require materials those suppliers cannot obtain. So they put up the apologetic signs and hope customers don't realize this is permanent. Now let me show you what's coming next. Because Target is just the early warning. The canary in the coal mine. Other retailers are experiencing the same issues, but haven't been as visible about it yet. Walmart, Best Buy, Home Depot, Lowe's, all of them are facing similar procurement challenges. Within the next 6 months, you're going to see widespread product unavailability across all major retail channels. Electronics sections will be decimated. Appliance sections will have limited inventory. Automotive departments will be bare, and prices on whatever remains available will spike dramatically. Because the retailers that can still get products will pass the increased material costs directly to consumers. That $79 coffee maker will become $129. That $200 blender becomes $350. And even at those prices, they'll sell out because alternatives don't exist. This is the inflation that most people don't see coming. Not currency inflation where everything gets a little more expensive, but scarcity inflation where specific categories of products become unaffordable or unavailable regardless of how much money you have. If the components can't be sourced, the products can't be made, and your dollars are worthless. We're also going to see a collapse in consumer electronics upgrades. People are used to replacing their phone every 2 to 3 years, replacing their laptop every 4 years, getting a new TV when they remodel. That's over. The new normal is going to be repair and maintain what you have because replacements aren't available. This shift alone will devastate companies whose business models depend on constant upgrade cycles. Apple, Samsung, LG, Sony, all of them are going to face existential challenges if consumers can't buy new devices. The automotive industry is going to be hit even harder. Modern cars are computers on wheels. They require hundreds of electronic components, many using silver. If those components become unavailable, car production stops. We've already seen this during the chip shortage. But the silver shortage is going to be worse because chips can be substituted or redesigned. Silver contacts in critical safety systems cannot. Expect car prices to continue rising, expect delivery times to extend to a year or more, and expect used car values to skyrocket as people hold on to vehicles longer. The housing market will be affected too. You can't finish a house without electrical systems. You can't wire a house without components that require silver. New home construction will slow dramatically if builders can't source electrical materials. This will make the existing housing shortage even worse and push prices higher. Every sector of the economy that depends on manufactured goods with electronic components is going to be disrupted. And that's almost every sector. We've built a modern economy that requires silver to function, and we're running out of silver. The implications are staggering. Now, let me address the obvious question. If silver is so scarce, if industrial demand is overwhelming supply, why is the spot price only $79? Why isn't it $300 or $500? The answer is that the paper silver market and the physical silver market are completely disconnected. The spot price you see quoted is based on COMEX futures, on contracts that are mostly settled in cash, not metal. Traders buy and sell paper silver all day long. Billions of ounces change hands digitally, but none of that is real metal. The physical market, where manufacturers actually need to buy real silver to make real products, that market is trading at massive premiums over spot. Manufacturers are paying spot plus $40, plus $50, sometimes plus $70 per ounce to get physical delivery. So while the paper market says 79, the real physical market says 120, 130, 150. This is the bifurcation that eventually destroys the paper pricing mechanism. Because at some point, industrial users stop paying attention to COMEX. They just pay whatever they have to pay to get metal, and when enough buyers abandon the paper market, the paper price becomes irrelevant. We're heading toward a scenario where silver has two prices. A fake paper price that exists on screens for traders who never touch real metal, and a real physical price that reflects actual scarcity and actual demand. The manufacturers buying for Target's suppliers, they're already living in the physical price world. They're already paying the real price. The rest of the market just hasn't figured it out yet. But they will. And when the broader investment community realizes that physical silver is trading at massive premiums to spot, they're going to want in. They're going to try to buy physical to capture the arbitrage. And that buying pressure will overwhelm what's left of available supply and push physical premiums even higher. This is the death spiral for the paper market and the explosion for physical prices. We're in the early innings of this process. Target's empty shelves are the first visible manifestation of industrial silver scarcity hitting the real economy. But this is going to spread to every product category, every retail channel, every manufacturer that depends on silver. The crisis is here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. So what do you do with this information? How do you prepare for a world where Target's shelves stay empty and manufactured goods become scarce? First, understand that the products you can buy today might not be available tomorrow. If you need electronics, appliances, automotive accessories, anything that might contain silver components, buy it now. Don't wait for a sale. Don't wait for the next model. Buy what you need immediately because the window is closing. Second, prepare to repair and maintain what you own. Learn basic electronics repair. Learn how to fix appliances. Invest in tools and spare parts while they're still available. In a world of scarce manufactured goods, the ability to repair becomes incredibly valuable. Third, Recognize that this crisis creates opportunities. If you're holding physical silver, you're holding the constraint that's choking the industrial economy. As that constraint gets tighter, as desperation increases, the value of what you hold increases, not because of speculation, but because of real industrial need. Manufacturers will pay almost anything to keep production lines running. Fourth, watch for the contagion to spread. Target today, everywhere else tomorrow. When other retailers start showing the same shortages, when the mainstream media finally picks up the story, that's when the broader public panic begins. Be ahead of that curve. Act now while most people still think this is just Target's problem. Finally, understand the bigger picture. What's happening at Target is a symptom of a much larger issue. And we've built a modern technological civilization that runs on materials we're running out of. Silver is just one example. Copper, lithium, rare earths, all of them face similar supply constraints. We've hit the physical limits of a finite planet while demanding infinite growth. Something has to give. And what's giving is the availability of the products and conveniences we've taken for granted. The era of abundant, cheap manufactured goods is ending. The era of scarcity and high prices is beginning. Target's empty shelves are the announcement that we've crossed that threshold. The people who understand this early, who adapt their behavior, who position themselves accordingly, they'll navigate the transition successfully. The people who don't, who assume everything will return to normal, who wait for someone to fix it, they're going to be shocked by how fast the world changes. 847 Target stores can't restock. That number will be higher next quarter, and the quarter after that. This is not a temporary disruption. This is the new reality. The industrial silver shortage has moved from the abstract world of commodity markets into the concrete world of retail shelves. You can see it with your own eyes. You can walk into Target and witness it. The question is not whether this is real. The question is what you're going to do about it. Because the empty shelves are just the beginning, and what comes next is going to be far more disruptive than missing coffee makers and cell phone chargers. This is the unraveling of the supply chain for modern technological civilization. And it's happening right now at Target, where you shop. Where you used to be able to buy whatever you wanted whenever you wanted it, that world is gone, and it's not coming back.